I have a feeling that I wasn't recording any of that. So in case I wasn't recording, let me just discuss what I was just doing. I'm kind of an idiot. So I was just doing my foundation. I'm doing a how I do my makeup when we're traveling makeup look. I don't know if I recorded all of this. If I did, then I'll cut this out. But right now we are traveling. My boyfriend has some stuff to do for work. We are currently in Iowa, so we are traveling, and I wanted to show you guys how I do my makeup when we're traveling and what products I like to bring when we're traveling. How many times can I say traveling? All I've done so far is moisturize my skin, then I put on a little bit of primer, which this is the Benefit Professional Primer, and then I mixed these two guys together, which is the CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir and the color Ivory. I mixed a little bit of this with the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in Prosecco Pop. I mixed those two together, put it all over my skin, and you can see that my skin has this really healthy, dewy glow. So that's all I did. So now I'm going to go ahead and do some concealer. I'm using my usual, which is Tarte Shape Tape. I think everybody still uses this. I don't know. Everyone and their dog uses this concealer, so had to hop on that bandwagon. And I'm going to blend that out. So to deal with this kind of like obvious change in tone, I'm going to take about half a pump of my foundation and really work it into my beauty blender, and I'm going to go right along the edges of that foundation. Obviously you don't have to do this every single day or every time you put foundation and concealer on. I do this when I see that there's an obvious color change and there's a big difference in my concealer and foundation color. I don't want it to look like I have raccoon eyes, so that's why I do it like this. And it still keeps everything highlighted and bright. If you just put a really thin layer of foundation, it just helps everything blend a lot nicer. So I really love the glow that this gives my skin, but it's very sticky and very dewy, which I don't really hate because I do have dry skin. I'm gonna take my beauty blender and I'm going to set the foundation along my jawline. Wherever you tend to get oily is where you want to set it really well. I'm going to set it here where I contour around my nose because that's going to crease up. Smile lines here around where you contour. You really want that area to not be tacky or sticky at all, because that's when you can start to get really patchy contour or bronzer or whatever you're using. It's also really important to, on this part right here by your nose, to make sure that that is pretty matte, or else it will make you look kind of sweaty or kind of greasy, and it won't make you look dewy in a good way. So I usually avoid like this area here. I set this in on my forehead. It's a really light layer, but I usually avoid where I normally highlight. I set my eyelids pretty well also. So another little tip, I don't know if this is really a tip, but I like to put the powder in the lid, and then what I do is I dab it into the powder on the lid, and then here is the regular container. You can see those little holes right there. I take whatever is excess and I run it along the holes, and that usually helps get off whatever there's excess of on the sponge. So that really helps it not look, not take a lot of product on. So moving on to the first brush, I just brought a really large powder brush. I'm using this just to kind of sweep the powder off, any excess powder that might be on my face. So next I brought my contour palette. I brought this because it's pretty thin and I can use the shades in this palette as a eyeshadow if I needed to. So I'm just going to really quickly contour. So for blush today, I brought my Party Blush by Tarte. So if you have a palette that has contour or bronzer shades with blushes, I would just bring that instead of two separate items, because that is a lot to keep track of, especially while traveling. So it would be easier just to have everything all in one, especially if it's like a contour blush highlight palette, then that would be perfect instead of bringing three separate things. But it works. We are driving, so we didn't have to worry about checking a bag, but if you have to, make sure that everything is whatever size it needs to be for the airline. What I did when we flew to Florida is my powders, well actually on the way back what I did was my powders I put in my carry-on, and my liquids I left in my bag wrapped in their own little compartment with their own little bag. I did it that way so that my powders, one, didn't break while we were flying, and two, I did that so that my powders wouldn't break while we were flying, but also so that if my liquids might have been a little bit too big, they couldn't confiscate them on my carry-on. So it was just easier for me to leave my liquids in my checked bag. But if you're only taking a carry-on bag, make sure that everything is within flight regulation, obviously. I'm just highlighting my face kind of heavily. I didn't mean to do it this heavily, but I did. So I'm going to move on to brows. Brows, I just brought a brow powder because that's what I'm comfortable with using, and it's the easiest thing for me to use. Also the quickest thing for me to use. Also, what you're going to want to do is definitely set your brows when you're traveling. If you don't normally set your brows, this is the time that you definitely should. It'll keep the hairs in place all day. Again, you'll probably be taking lots of photos of yourself, or whoever you're with, you'll probably be taking lots of photos together. So you're going to want to set your brows just to make sure that they look good all day and that they don't look too crazy. So for an eyeshadow palette, only eyeshadow palette that I brought was this one from Pure Cosmetics. This is Pure Cosmetics Soiree Diaries, and it is a really pretty neutral palette. There's only 4 shimmers and the rest are matte, so that's one of the reasons that I brought it, is because I know I don't use a lot of matte shades, shimmer shades, so I didn't want a palette that was primarily shimmers and like 2 mattes, but also I brought it because it's extremely thin. So I'm first going to take this kind of like light neutral brown color called Gala on a fluffy brush, and I'm going to throw this right in my crease. And this is just going to be a transition shade. As with the rest of the look, I don't want anything too crazy done on my eyes. So next I'm going to take the color Splurge, which is a little bit of a deeper neutral brown, and that's also going to go into the crease. Same brush. Just make sure it's all really nicely blended out. You don't want any harsh lines. Nothing harsh. So next, on kind of like a fluffier flat brush, something like this, I'm going to take a little bit of the color called Snazzy, and I'm just going to put this on the outer corner of my eye. Just on the outer corner. You don't want to go in too far. I actually went a little bit too heavy-handed with this, which is fine. With nothing on this brush, I'm going to blend out the edges into the crease. I pick up a small amount of that same color on this brush just to blend it into the crease a little bit better. I'll take a little bit of a denser brush to blend that out. Didn't actually mean to go this heavy-handed, but did. So with any skin tone color, you could even use your face powder. You're just going to put this on the inner corner just to mattify that and make it look really clean and finished and polished. That color I just used is called Private Party. I think I'm going to mix a little bit of Mogul in there just to give it more of like a yellow color, just so it's not such a stark white. So with that same fluffy brush that I used to blend everything out, use that to blend this color out also. So with that first color, again, Private Party on that brush, I'm going to go right around the edges. I'm actually going to pick up some of my highlighter, I think, because I want it to have a little bit of a shimmer. With that same brush, I'm going to put a little bit right under the brow. And I'm only putting it at the highest point. I'm not going to like bring it all the way across. I'm just kind of putting it right under the arch. And that makes it so that your eye doesn't droop down. It kind of helps lift that area. Same brush again. Inner corner. I definitely need a setting spray because my skin looks real powdery. Nothing on this brush, just whatever's left over. I was literally just going to do a really easy smoky eye. Nothing this dark, but I did do it this dark. Oops. I'm gonna take a little bit more of that like first transition color that we used. Alright, so I just did my mascara just to add a little bit. It looks better with mascara. Obviously, you're not gonna walk out of the house without it. So this is where you get to choose. I have 4 different lip color options here. I'm probably going to do red just because I want to do red. But I have 3 other options. You can do kind of like this mauve gloss color. This is Wined and Dined by Wet n Wild. You could also do some type of nude, traditional type of lipstick. My Lip But Better kind of look with this lipstick from L'Oreal. It is the JLo or the Jennifer's Nude lipstick. Or you could do this kind of like pinky liquid lip from Maybelline. This is the Vivid Matte Liquid. Vivid Matte Liquid? That's what it's called. Okay. In Nude Flush. But I'm going to do this matte red in the color Outlaw by Kat Von D. Yeah. So I'm also going to line my lips now with a red lip liner. This is Mrs. Mia Wallace lip liner by Urban Decay. I'm going to add a little bit of highlight right to my Cupid's bow. Definitely wasn't expecting to do a red lip today. Yeah, that is really it. This is kind of what I like to bring when I'm traveling. A little like tip that I like to do for packing is I put things in the bag in the order that I use them. So say in the morning you're going to use your makeup. I like to use like the foundation and then put it in my bag. Use the concealer, put it in the bag. If you're not going to be using your makeup in the morning, you'll do the same thing. You'll sit there and go, okay, first I put moisturizer on in the bag. Next, I put a primer on. So that's kind of what I like to do. It makes sure that you don't really forget anything. And it's the easiest way that I have found to make sure that everything is with me and that I've brought everything with me. So yeah, that is my finished look. I hope you guys liked it, enjoyed it. If you guys have any tips or suggestions or anything for anyone else that I left out for like traveling tips and stuff, leave that in the comment section down below. Let me know what your go-to look is when you're traveling. I like to do a bright lip when I'm traveling because it's just easy for me to look really put together. And like I tried really hard. So that's why I decided to do a matte red lip, and this one stays on forever. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe and I will see you in my next video. Bye!